Dr. Paul, would you label the Federal Reserve as a threat?
Well, the philosophy of the Federal Reserve is a threat, and so yes, they're a threat. And Thomas Jefferson taught me that. He said, "Don't have central banking." And we know that one of the major issues of the Communist Manifesto was central banking. And of course, it's tempting that all nations over the centuries have been, yes, they know about sound money. They even know the biblical support for honest weights and measures. But there's always individuals who abuse it because you can build big government by artificially creating money and being counterfeiters. They should be all arrested for fraud. And the founders felt strongly about this. They said if you counterfeit government papers, important papers, you should get the death penalty, or you could get the death penalty. So the concept is what is wrong, because you could have some of these bad features. You might have one of the Marxists say, well, we need to get rid of the Fed and sound like an ally, but then they want to be the Fed. They want modern monetary theory. They figure the Fed doesn't distribute the money fairly enough, so they might argue that the case for that. But no, the Fed should be audited. When the people in this country found out how bad it is, then they're going to say, why are we doing this? It's causing so much harm. It's caused this maldistribution. It's wiped out the middle class, and it's helped the very wealthy. Oh, so that would be a lot of ammunition for getting rid of the Fed, and that, of course, is what I support.
Dr. Paul, I mean, I know we've touched on this, and you've constantly said this as well, and the Fed. But how do we really truly end the Fed?
Well, I don't think you have to worry about that. I think the Fed will, in a technical way, end itself. It's going to hang around, and it's going to print money like they're doing, and they're going to accommodate anybody and everybody. I think they might even be surprised that they're getting away with what they're doing, because for a good many years they always figure, well, we can get away with it a while, and then when it looks like there's price inflation coming, we're going to have to back off. Like they did in the 70s, and Volcker comes in and said, bite the bullet, you got to cut some spending, you got to have some deficits funding, and all these things. So it's right now, though, we've gone since '08, essentially, with quantitative easing, that there are no limits. And it surprises me a little bit that it's actually still functioning. People still trust the dollar because there's not much else to other options. Some people think it'll be found in cryptocurrencies. Other people believe that eventually they will have to revert and go back to sound money, like we did in 1875 after the Civil War. We went back and it was a non-event. It's not likely to happen now, but it's something that on monetary policy, it should not be in the hands of secrecy. People in secret, that's why the Federal Reserve should be eliminated. But more importantly, we probably need a lot more education in our universities, because if you go to 90-some% of our universities today owned by the government, and who also get support indirectly, from the Federal Reserve itself, because they get all these papers, all these economic papers out of the universities defending the Federal Reserve. So it's a system that will self-destruct, even though I believe that quite a few people who are surprised that this even works the way they do. Negative interest rates, yeah, I believe they're negative, because if you factor in real inflation rate and you have interest rates at 1%, they're negative. And that is not the way to run an economy. It doesn't work. And the worse condition it gets, the more it encourages people to keep making the same mistake. So when COVID came along, just think of the trillions of dollars, probably injected $6 trillion, to salvage that. And people still trust the money, and people take their money, they get their check, and they go out. But now they're getting a little annoyed because standard of living is going down and the cost of living is going up. So it's going to end with a calamity, and then the Federal Reserve will become irrelevant, and hopefully we will have the wisdom of a Thomas Jefferson to say no central banking and get rid of the Hamiltonians.
Dr. Paul, when other countries get into currency issues, they typically seek shelter by moving from their local currency to the U.S. dollar as a safe haven. However, should the U.S. dollar inflate or hyperinflate, I suspect it will not be easy for our countrymen in the U.S. or in the U.S. borders to move to any other currency. Are these compelling reasons to own some gold, own some silver, or even perhaps own some crypto, as we just touched on?
Yeah, it's not difficult to figure out. They have that which you suggest has been a necessity for a long time. That's when I really got involved in monetary policy in the 60s. I was interested and read about it and looked at all the predictions of what would happen. And Bretton Woods broke down because they were abusing the standard. They were in price fixing, and the world loved it, And they said, yes, as long as the United States takes care of us and has a military and will defend us, we'll go along with this. So they did this, but it lasted, up until 1971. There was a fixed ratio between the gold and silver. Gold and the dollar, but I don't think there's likelihood that there's going to be another currency that people will also always gravitate to. They talk about others, even China having a currency. I just think psychologically and politically that's not likely to happen. So I think that ultimately it will be, a lot of people will go to gold and silver, and some people argue, well, no, crypto is going to protect this. But when I look at this, I see a lot of shortcomings of cryptocurrencies and even gold and silver. What did Roosevelt do when he had a calamity of our depression as a consequence of the inflation by the Federal Reserve for World War I? The first thing he did was take the gold from the American people, confiscated the gold. So the gold isn't the salvation. Cryptos is no salvation. And the only thing that really will protect us against an evil government is the freedom by the people to take care of themselves, and acknowledgement that liberty is what we need, and that will take care of things. So you don't, under those conditions, you don't have a Federal Reserve. You have honesty and money, and you will have monetary authorities, and you'll still have government, but you would have to live within our means. You wouldn't be able to print money because that's fraud, and that's where the problem came from. So if people go through another crisis and say, well, it looks like things are calmed down, we can go back to printing money again. That would be very, very bad. That's what we have done for all these years, and it worked to a degree, but it hasn't worked in these last 10 and 15 years. Even since '08, and especially with COVID, it seems to be working, but I don't trust it. I think that there's not going to be an easy way to find another currency. But in the meantime, protect our liberties is important, and then have enough freedom that you can protect yourself physically and economically speaking, and protect your own civil liberties and your right of free speech. The people have to have that. That would be the most important thing. But I think in the meantime, in 1971, when I realized what was happening, we weren't even allowed to own gold, but we were able to buy numismatic gold, and that's when I started buying gold. And of course, silver always fascinated me because as a kid, I always saved the silver coinage and stuck it in the books and looked at them because I would deliver newspapers and milk and things like that. So we dealt a lot in change. And I think it was around $1.29 when it hit that. It paid to melt it, which was in the mid 60s. And in 65, after that, the silver disappeared. And for some reason, I don't know how it happened, but I don't think we have a market price for silver right now. There seems like there are some pretty good arguments why, if it was a totally free market, silver prices would be a lot higher. But anyway, I still like silver. I think one of my most favorite silver coins is the newly minted silver 1 ounce of the silver dollar, because it's recognizable and it is true silver. It's one of the things the government has done to issue it, and it's popular. So I think having those at hand very important. Matter of fact, because I strongly believed in it, that was one way that I taught my kids lessons is I would, on routine occasions, whether it would be birthdays or Christmas time or whatever, I would give them silver coins, and they all understand silver, they understand gold, they understand sound money, and they understand all the other reasons why we should have limitation on the Federal Reserve and get rid of it.
Before we continue, help us clicking that YouTube like button and subscribe now to our channel. This shows the algorithm that you valued this information. And it helps us spread that message. Sharing is caring. And now, let's continue.
What to do in such a situation? Inform yourself and keep your financial education strong. We from the Compact Group offer our loyal subscribers a free educational portal with first-hand monetary, financial, and economic knowledge. Enter our invite-only Insider Club by clicking the link below. You will get access to first-class information far earlier than the rest. We have prepared a special deal for all our members where you can access a giant pool of Robert Kiyosaki's financial wisdom for just $1. To find out more, simply click the link below and join our Insider Club absolutely free. But there is more you can and should do. Build up several streams of income. More and more people realize that they have to take their future in their own hands, but they don't know how and where to start. We from Compact offer our Insider Club members unique opportunities. Strengthen your financial muscle and get the edge. Click the link below. Become part of our free Insider Club. No financial obligations. But there's one important thing you have to know. You have to become active. So do it now. Become active and see you on the other side.